Hello and good day to you, my beautiful friends. I do hope you are well. Welcome to episode 87 of Cross-Button VR, our journey into the world of VR. I'm your host, Laurie, and it is an honor to be joined by two of the most scandalous influencers in the metaverse. It's Alex and Reece.
No.
Hello.
Hello.
So scandalous.
Is it me you're looking for?
Can't hear you, Alex.
I did go so scandalous, and I was on mute, which is so scandalous.
There we go.
Start again.
Ah, it's fine. We're all right.
People don't mind. People don't mind if Alex is muted for the whole thing.
Fair.
No, they would do. They would miss your Bonnie lilt. Little callback there to last week. You both well?
Yes, very well.
I'm excited. I'm going to see you both in a few days' time.
I know, it's exciting.
And by the time this episode goes out, though, we'll have already seen you. So we had a great time at EGX this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah,
we did. Where I'm seeing you in a few days' time. So we are recording this episode early for anyone that knows. So if there is a massive reveal or something that happens in the world of VR in the next few days, we're not going to talk about it today because we are only recording this on Wednesday, the 23rd of October. And yeah, so that's just it because we're all going to EGX this weekend and having a jolly time.
Yeah.
jolly old time.
A good old knees up. Hey, Reece.
Yeah, that's the correct terminology for it. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, we'll play some games, have some beers, eat some pizza, and yeah, generally have a laugh.
Have a good
about.
time.
I hope to see at least one person come up to Reece and go, "Are you games of tea?" Yes.
No one's going to do that.
So, no, I'm just wearing this t-shirt for the sake of it.
Just
I'm not wearing
t-shirt with my own face on.
I was going to wear that t-shirt, and now I'm not going to bother.
Wear your t-shirt.
I'm going to wear our cross-button VR t-shirts.
Yeah,
exactly.
We should have got us with a new logo on. Why
I
didn't we do
know,
that?
but we didn't. So
We didn't do
yeah.
that. No, we're playing it cool this year.
Yeah, we're going to just hope that somebody comes up to us and knows who we are, as opposed to, advertising it on ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the episode. And this episode is going out on the week of Halloween, so we've clearly gone all to town being really spooky, haven't we? I should have introduced you as to two of the most spookiest influencers in the metaverse, shouldn't I?
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity, and it won't be the first missed opportunity tonight, I'm sure. I don't know what I mean by
definitely not. Well, we'll get to one of the games, and I'm sure we'll get there.
yeah, there's some missed opportunities there, sadly. But if people would like to support us, they can buy us a pint at EGX, and that's enough. So moving on. Now, if they can give the podcast a sub on whatever service they're using as well, and on YouTube, like and subscribe and all of that, leave us a comment, and follow us on Blue Sky at Crossbutton VR. That's it. I don't even say the other one anymore. Dead to me. Dead to all
don't
of
want
us.
to use the other ones.
The other ones, well, the Facebook as well. You can find us on Facebook at Crossbutton VR.
Oh, are you still mentioning that?
We've got two new members.
There you go. See, two more.
Who joined? Who were the two new members?
Shout out for
and Hippie Pickle.
Shout out for Hippie Pickle.
I believe we're going to be seeing Hippie Pickle at EGX. I mean, by the time this goes out, we've already seen him. Hopefully, he's going to be there as well.
Yeah, we shouldn't have talked about what happened with Hippie Pickle at EGX. That was pretty embarrassing for all concerned.
We got ourselves in a pickle.
Why we did.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? Okay.
Have we been drinking again?
Yeah. No, haven't. But we don't have much news to talk about because we are recording early. And obviously everyone's holding all their news for EGX. Probably not. But as this episode is going out in the week of Halloween, we thought we would scare everyone senseless by talking about horror games. Reece, we didn't really do this before because when we were doing this last October, none of us played horror games. We were all too scared. Too scared to play horror games. So the first Crossbutton VR that came around with Halloween, we didn't talk about it.
Just avoided it.
Don't know what we
just
did instead.
pretended.
Yeah. I played this one. It's quite scary, I think.
We had we had Vampire the Masquerade came out, so I think we talked about that, but that was great.
Horror.
But we didn't have a resident horror. It's got vampires in it. They're quite scary. We didn't have a resident horror correspondent like we do now. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to really let you tell the audience why horror in VR is so bloody awesome, and also what are your top picks? Because Alex and I can contribute nothing to this discussion. So over to you, Reece.
You've played a few, so I know
I've
some of
played a
these.
few.
You can comment on some of these. As for why horror works so well in VR, I think it's just simply the fact of that you can't really escape unless you just pull the headset off completely. And I think that having that in horror is probably one of the more terrifying things, because there's been times when I first started playing VR, and more so when I played Madison, where I just kind of wanted to rip the headset off, like quite viciously, but at the same point didn't want to damage the headset. So there's that kind of being immersed in this really dark, eerie world, with the only escape being if you really kind of force yourself out of it. And I like that, because obviously when you play a horror game outside of VR, it's the same with any type of game. You can just end up hopping on your phone, doing anything else for a second, and just detaching yourself from that horror and then going back in. Almost like a real life checkpoint, if you will. You don't
Missing
get
the
that in VR.
scary bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I think having that in VR is just always kind of locked me in, and more so of horror, because I mean, it always goes back to Resident Evil 7, just playing through that, being one of the first VR games I played, and playing through that whole game in VR. I think that really kind of solidified how well horror works in VR, and then playing horror outside of VR now, it's kind of like, it's not as scary unless it's kind of something that's just very unexpected jump scares constantly. Where I feel like in VR, it kind of doesn't always rely on jump scares. Some do, but I think others rely on the atmosphere, the environment, the sounds, just the audio, everything like that works so well in VR, as opposed to outside of VR, you might miss those. So I think that's why horror in VR will always be such a great way to play these type of games. As for some of my favourite picks, go on. What was you going to say?
Well, I was just going to pick up on your point there about how non-flat horror games just don't hit the same way now after you get used to it. And I have a very limited experience in that. I've been playing Resident Evil 4, and then when I played it for a bit in non-VR, I was just like, this is not, I don't know, it's not a proper horror game, but it just had no that sense of impact. And there are bits that are quite horror in it. I know it's more of an action game, but there's bits. The headset is so good, and the 3D audio is so good on the PSVR2 that you can just hear creaking footsteps in the floor above you when you're in a house that's like supposedly abandoned. I can hear there's someone in this house with me. And in VR, when you you can see some shadows at the wall, you're literally just peering around the corner. And in flat, there's nothing. Just don't really get that same sense, because you're not the vulnerable one. It's Leon on screen in the corner of your room that's the vulnerable one, rather than it's you that is the one that's the vulnerable. So it's a very different experience, for sure.
Perfect way of putting it. Like, just you are there. I suppose there's always the better way of looking at it, isn't it? I think that's...
And the other thing, just to the environment, is it also forces you to turn the lights off.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, you are in complete darkness unless you're like playing on the Quest and you've taken the interface off. Then you're breaking the rules there. You're not allowed to do that. That's rule breaking.
Are there any mixed reality horror on Quest? How would that work?
Like zombie shooting things and stuff like that.
Imagine there's someone hammering on your actual front door and just like
I've seen there's a ghost one where like ghosts appear inside your house and things like that, or spirits. That's one I've seen. I've not seen a lot of people talk about it, but I know I think it was Nafi VR shared a video of it. It looked quite interesting, but I think he was playing it on the Apple Vision Pro, the very limited apps that may be on that device. So yeah, I mean, going back through like the long library of horror games I've played, I mean, Resident Evil 7 being one that you should 100% play if you have a PSVR one, but obviously we don't really talk about that anymore because it's kind of a defunct device that no one really cares about anymore.
So we have a bit of news there, don't we? Because wasn't that rumoured this week that one's coming? That was someone.
Yeah, they're releasing a gold edition on disc of the PS5 version of Resident Evil 7. And in the bottom of the case, it was leaked that it says VR, basically optional. I think it was something like that. So I mean, people were kind of saying, well, the game's on PS4, that's why they've got to put that there. But when you buy a PS5 version of a game on disc, you don't usually get the back-compatible version of the PS4 version. It's not like when you buy a PS4 version, you get the PS5 version. So in theory, they wouldn't need to put that there. So I mean, I'm going to cross my fingers and really hope. And even if they do it so you're playing it on the DualSense, I'd be fine with it. I would. I'd like them to do it like Resident Evil 8, where you kind of opened your jacket to grab the stuff out of it, and you had your flashlight on your arm, and it was all these really well organised VR controls. I'd love that. But at the same point, I wouldn't be disappointed if they just went, okay, we're just doing a straight port, enjoy it as it is, because it was a great experience, and it's one that I'd play again in a heartbeat. So, yeah, hopefully somebody in the background is working on that, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you there. Back to yours.
Not at all. So, yeah, if you do a PSVR 1, jump into Resident Evil 7. If not, I'm going to, on this list I've done, this is more focused on PSVR 2 players. I've not really made a list of Quest players, mainly because I've not played that many horror games on Quest. I bought my Quest with the intention to play a lot of the shooting games that have never came over, and I've still stuck to that path and played that, and obviously some more games that we talk about here and there. So this is really for the PSVR 2 focused players that may be looking for some jump scares, and some of these may be on they may be on Quest as well, and I'll point that out when they are. So first one I'm going to talk about is Propagation Paradise Hotel, and I know believe you both played this, right?
Yeah, I like that one.
Yes.
Yep.
It was good.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if you played it, Alex. I know Laurie played it because I remember him talking about how he couldn't reload his gun at one point, and I was like, you just need to do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, I might be better at it now, the whole reloading thing, but that was a classic like VR panic, like, wait, can't do it quick enough. There's some just
I completely
evil
understand
thing
that.
trying to get me.
I think the first time I panic reload was actually when the day one when I got the PSVR 2 and I played Resident Evil 8 in VR, and all the things, like the wolf kind of things were coming towards me. But anyways, back to Propagation Paradise Hotel. This is the closest thing to a Resident Evil inspired VR game without being a Resident Evil VR game. It's eerie, it's dark, it's creepy, the graphics are wonderful, it plays great. The story is very gripping as well. And obviously, I mean, this is a sequel in a sense to their original game Propagation, which was a wave shooter on the PC, which is a completely different element. But this, I think this is probably one of my favourites still to this day. If it was longer, that's my only issue. I wish it was longer, but I think it's great.
Too long. These things should be short as possible. For me, it felt a bit like, you say Resident Evil. For me, it feels more like The Last of Us. Because even at the start of it, where they're like holed up in that kitchen, and they're like, oh, you know, they've got all these kind of notes written and stuff. It felt very like they could have easily made that Last of Us game. I know the monsters are different.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I said Resident Evil because it's more zombies and things like that. But I think the story is quite gripping in its sense of like where you're trying to find your sister. It's a very, you know, it's not like the most blown over the top story. It's a very basic story, but it's gripping enough for the duration of the game. And there's two games on this list that actually made me fall over when I jumped. Propagation Paradise Hotel was one of them at the start of the game. And I actually remember this very clear as day because I made such a loud noise when I fell over onto I hit the sofa and fell over. And the missus like shouting upstairs, like, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah, fine."
just a dog.
just jumped a little, but I'm fine.
Changing my trousers.
Just need to have a shower quickly. Yeah. Propagation Paradise Hotel is a great game to play, and this is available on Quest and PSVR 2. I also believe it's on PC. I'm gonna suspect it is, but on the odd occasion, if not, pick it up on one of the others. And it's actually a good time to mention it because it's actually just got its Quest 3 update on the Quest, so it's now got better visuals. It shared some comparison images, and it looks a lot better. So definitely a good time to jump in. So next one. The Exorcist Legion.
Oh, yeah, I played that as well. There we go. Look at me.
Yeah. I picked this one, even though I played this on the back of the Madison debacle and getting through that. I struggled to get through it because of still having, you know, the aftershock of Madison. I found it creepy still. I found it eerie, the audio, the new graphics updates in the PSVR 2. I found it a very well-made game and probably one of Fun Train's better games that they've done. And it was just genuinely a really good horror game. So yeah, definitely one to check out there. I've obviously haven't got much more to say about that other than it's good for the fans of The Exorcist or just anyone that wants a decent horror experience.
I think that would be a good social one as well. We could want to play with someone else in the room with you, and because they just see on screen. Just to laugh at the way, I don't know, I think it's because the jump scares are really good in it, and I think you could kind of work together and say, "Oh, go look over there," and obviously the person in the headset is going to be the one that gets shot.
Just
so
bully them, yeah.
I think it'll be good. And they're quite short chapters, aren't they? So you could probably take it in turns past the headset. And I think it'd be good fun to play with a friend.
Yeah,
Did I imagine there was news about that this week as well? They were making some sort of prequel to that.
There was an epilogue. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
They're doing the epilogue on it.
Yeah.
Oh. See, the days and the weeks are merging into one.
It's all the same thing at this point, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah, definitely want to check out this Halloween season. I think I'm going to jump back into it myself, actually, and try and get through a few more chapters on that. But what I played of it, I have enjoyed. Going on to the more AAA titles here that people want sometimes, obviously. Resident Evil 4 and 8. I've put them as a collective just simply because one is more for people that just want more of an action type of horror game. Not really horror, and I will stand by my statement that RE4 is not horror. Yes, it gets creepy towards the later chapters, but it's not to the point where you're on edge the whole time through, because I feel like you don't ever really have to manage your ammo.
Yeah,
there is a lot of ammo. Yeah,
you're quite powerful in it. It's not that same vulnerability. Like the action combat is pretty.
And obviously that's different on a harder difficulty. Like it does change, and that will probably change up how it feels. But I feel like as soon as you give a character a 12 gauge, you're completely fine. Like that's it with horror games.
You can't really do roundhouse kicks usually in most.
Yeah,
in most
horror that too. Your character's not Chuck Norris usually, but in this game he is. So Resident Evil 4 is more for somebody that wants a game with some horror elements. Maybe might make you jump if you're not good at horror games at all, but also at the same time makes you feel like John Wick taking out Plagas. So yeah, definitely one to check out. And my quest just went off, so that's I need to pull that out. Because otherwise that's going to keep going off. Anyways, Resident Evil 8. Now this one is obviously more for the horror people. I haven't played through this all in VR simply because I completed the game prior to it coming out in VR. I held off for about a year or close to a year. Then I ended up picking it up because I was like, oh, they're not going to bring it to PSVR 1. And I kind of, not at that time, disregarded PSVR 2 eventually coming out. I just kind of didn't know when it was going to be because they hadn't announced when it was going to be. So I jumped in. This game in VR is creepy. It's horrifying. It has that darkness. It has that eeriness. It has limited ammo, a really good story, creepy enemies. And there's some certain chapters on that game that are just really going to make you question what you've just seen. So, yeah, Resident Evil 8 is definitely one to play in VR. I wouldn't bother playing it outside of VR now.
I imagine it must be one of the best looking on your list as well, because that is a seriously good looking game. Like that big, I remember playing I think it was a demo or the prologue thing they did, and that big chandelier in the hallway.
Yeah.
It's just like, the floor of the hallway just looks really nicely shiny.
I think I played 2 games on release, and it was Cowboy, Plants at War, and Resident Evil 8. They were the 2 games I jumped into.
Wow, bit of a difference.
So obviously, yeah, big difference. I'm not saying Cactus Cowboy wasn't fun, because it was. But as soon as I jumped into Resident Evil 8 and I saw those graphics for the first time, my jaw dropped. And I still stand by it being one of the best looking games on the PSVR 2. Sure, you've got Red Matter 2, which I think is another one that is just absolutely phenomenal to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, like, when you just look at your hands and you kind of see the pigments and just the cracks in the knuckles and things like that, to me, that still blows my mind that games can do that, and especially in VR. So, yeah, that's creepy alone as it is when you're looking at the hands going, wait, that's not my hand. But it looks real enough to be. So, yeah, definitely another good one. Going on to more of a retro style game. This one is more for fans of Silent Hill, but are not bothered by graphics. If you're bothered by graphics, then you're probably not going to want to play this one, and that's Organ Quarter. This was one that I played, and the minute I finished this game, I had the urge to message people that had played it and talk about it. I just had to have a discussion about it. It was a lovely game. It feels great.
Lovely horror?
Yeah, that's not the right word for it, is it? Yeah. It's just a great game. It's very low budget, and you can see that. But the music's good in it. The story's pretty decent. And it's just, I think for the price you'll pay for it, it's a very good game that kind of gives you that weird, odd, stylized Silent Hill type game. So yeah, it's definitely one to check out. You will notice that it is low budget though, but at the same point, I think if you can get past that, you're going to have a blast. Not too sure if that's on any other platforms, but I really hope they do bring it to some other platforms because I think it's one of the ones that I think the Quest would appreciate or PC would appreciate. Going on to the next one, being one of my favourite ones, one that I raved about on here a lot, Overdark, a do not open story. This game is one that I blasted through, absolutely loved every minute of it, creeped out the whole time. I remember talking about it when Ben was here, and it was I was telling him about the part where you have to sneak into a room and Michael is just standing behind you. And you can, if you've got your 3D audio and you can hear him breathing down your neck, and it's just very unsettling. And if you turn around a little bit, he just jumps on you, pounces, and it's the most jump scary moment I've ever had in VR, to the point where I think the first time I did it, I literally swore multiple times and just noped the hell out. It was, I didn't expect it to be like that. I thought he was just going to see you and chase you, because this is your first proper encounter with him in a room and not knowing what he does. So I think it really catches you off guard. So obviously you're going to know that part when he gets to it. If you haven't played it, I've probably just ruined that part, but hey ho. Play it. It's still it's one of the things. I'm trying to go in depth, but yeah, there's a lot more moments in that game that are gonna make it very difficult to push on through. I've been through the game twice now. I tried to go through it the third time the other day, and I got a bit annoyed with one of the parts, and then I was like, "Yep, do you know what?" Because I was trying to do the zero death, zero save playthrough. So as soon as you die, it puts you back like a whole chapter before, and I was like, I can't be bothered to do that part again. So just note that. But yeah, overall great game. Very creepy moments. Just ignore the part that I told you. It didn't happen, and I can guarantee you'll still mess up, and it will still make you jump. Because even though I've been through it like that many times, it still makes me jump because it's just the audio that will just knock you off your feet. Lastly, the scariest game ever made to man, Madison. This one is not for the faint of heart. If you are really scared of horror games, do not play this one. But if you do want to shit yourself up and be probably the most uncomfortable you've ever been in your life playing a horror game, this is it. When I was playing this game, literally, I was in like this position the whole time while moving. So I was moving my analogs like this the whole time. This was also the second horror game that made me fall on my ass. And this one, I wasn't standing next to the sofa, so I actually kind of fell on the floor as well a little bit. And I did get it on camera. Yes, I did. It's actually on my channel. Yeah, this is one that I recommend if you really want to talk to yourself. It's got a lot of puzzles, so you will kind of get held up on certain things. But even when you get held up on certain things in these puzzles, you're walking around thinking, something's going to happen, isn't it? It's just going to happen. And the whole time, it doesn't matter if you've just had a scary encounter, you're going to be in that defensive pose the whole time. And everyone I've seen play it is in the same position.
Is it? It's not shooty, is it? You're not.
No guns.
Is it more just avoiding stuff?
There's a mixture of avoiding stuff and a lot of puzzles. It's usually like, so you get to a certain point and you complete a puzzle, and that will kind of trigger the next scary part that's going to happen. It doesn't really happen until you get to a certain part of the game. And
but do you just like run away from stuff, or like does it?
It gets to the point where there is bits where you get chased in certain ways. There's a certain character called Blue Knees. So it's kind of
Bluey?
Blue Knees. There's a bit. No, not Bluey. I bet somebody on. I don't know the theme song, Alex.
That's a mod.
Yeah, I bet there's a mod somewhere, isn't there, that somebody's just like changed Blue Knees to Bluey. If not, can somebody do that, please? And I think I'll actually complete the game properly in VR.
I'll play it then.
Yeah, it's one I played outside of VR before, so I knew what to expect with the game. But even then, I still shit myself multiple times, felt uncomfortable, screamed, and I could hear the missus laughing downstairs sometimes when I was playing this one, because I would literally just scream out loud and she just hear her chuckling. It was
your neighbours think,
yeah,
going on in there.
And there's another part in it, and without going too much into detail, it's kind of like every few seconds it appears in front of your face, and like you'll be walking in the darkness, and then boom, it just appears in front of your face, and literally it doesn't matter how many times you mess this part up, and it keeps appearing, making me scream. single time. So yeah, Madison, if you really want to be scared, I will say if you're not a fan of puzzles though, just avoid it in general because you're going to get more pissed off with the game itself than actually end up enjoying it. I mean, if you will enjoy this game, I actually didn't want to put my headset back on after I played this one. I think it's after the first play session when I fell over, I took the headset off and I was like,
Nope, done.
don't feel good. Pretty much like how I am with any spiders in VR games. So yeah, that's the list I've kind of formulated. There was a few others that came to mind, but they've got bugs, they've got issues, and it's kind of like I haven't went back into them since they've done patches. I played them previously, and they had issues then, which were then patched and issues. So it's kind of like I don't want to recommend them just in case you buy it and go, this was terrible. So yeah, I think these ones here are ones you're going to have a good time with. A good time being scared with, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. But yeah.
Yeah, can I jump in with a couple of recommendations where if you don't like really scary horror games, but you still want to feel a bit spooky. So these are games that aren't really horror, but they are in that kind of theme, if you like.
Go on.
Switchback VR is great fun, and that is a good one to play as well with friends. You could take in turns on that one. If you've got friends over for Halloween, if you're having a party or something. It could be a good one if you were just having a house party. You could put someone on there and just everyone could laugh at them screaming and just mind your TV that people don't just like smash. And it has the blinking thing from Doctor Who, which is like everyone's most scary thing.
The mannequins.
The Weeping Angels. No, oh yeah, the mannequins in this, yeah. But based on the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. Everyone always thinks. To switch back, and also this is not at all a horror game, but it is very like creepy and unsettling. And there is if you look at the whole story put together, Seventh Guest, I think is that kind of murdery type. Again,
I still need to play that.
Yeah, should do
You've not played it. Wow, not so much. I mean, it's got kind of themes that are horror-ish, kind of like occult. Yeah, the ending of it, I won't spoil obviously, but it does. I feel, Alex, you think it counts as a kind of spooky game?
I've always seen it as spooky, and I've not played it.
It's a bit of a haunted house type.
It's a haunted house, yeah. It's a kind of haunted mansion type thing. So yeah, I mean, it definitely fits with the season. I wouldn't say it's scary as you say, but it's definitely like a little bit spooky.
Yeah, it's a puzzle game, but I mean that for me, I absolutely love that. I don't like scary games, but if you don't want to be left out of the whole kind of Halloweeniness, if you want to find something in that is Halloweeny to play, then I think Seventh Guest is a great one to play. It's not going to scare you, but it is kind of spooky and unsettling.
Would you say the room kind of fits in that same type of category?
Yeah,
because I found some levels in that to be quite eerie, and I was like, this is just something going to happen. Like you go to do one of the puzzles, you think something's going to jump out, and it doesn't. It kind of gives you that.
It's not that sort of game, but it does make you think that it might do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can recommend that escape room when we played the other night, Reece, and yeah. So we just kind of changing the subjects. We played was another
room.
Another room escape room. Just we'll double check the title in a minute. And the first one was like it's different themed rooms, and I think there was 5 or 6. And the first one was Doll's House, and it was fine. And this is just in Quest, and the 3 of us were playing it, and it worked fine. It actually was pretty decent. So we're like, right, okay, we'll try and record another one. We'll try one pillar 2 levels. We're into the next one, like no fucking clue what we're supposed to do here. Stood for 10-15 minutes trying to work this out. Still giving you a clue, couldn't work it out.
I've got 40 minutes of recording on my Quest device that just can't be used because it's literally just what what are we doing? There's no indication.
And then we then tried another one, and the same thing again, and you're just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
So but the Doll's House one, like the very first one, was actually pretty good. It was really, really good. And then you tried the other one, and you're like, it's not.
Yeah, we was absolutely. Yeah, we was absolutely locked in on that Doll's House, and there was some nice, genuinely good jump scares. And I think the nice thing about it as well is each person will experience them. Like I would go and check something out, and then I'll be like, and then they'd go check it out. And 3 seconds later, you hear them have the same reaction because it doesn't just do it for one person. I thought that was really well done. But yeah, 40 minutes of recordings that we thought we could use for a really funny video. We'll never see the light of day. Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough. Well, let's move on with what we've been playing. And I suppose we've got one more spooky game that you guys have been playing, which is Phasmophobia.
Alex, do you want to start?
I've never been so bored in my life.
Oh dear.
Genuinely, I have never been so bored in a game in my life. I do not understand like the fuss around this game. I do not understand why people enjoy it. Like, you're literally wandering around the house waiting for something to happen, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. You're like, is something going to happen here? Why have I got a notepad? Why have I got a video camera?
The
Like,
notepad's your options, mate. It's a journal.
you're like, well, no, the other one that the ghost needs to draw
Oh,
in, but like,
ghost that needs to write into it, yeah.
yeah. And then you're like, what's happening? There's no noises. Oh, but your levels are getting lower. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And why do I need to go back to the van to find out? And then you're just still waiting, and then you just see people start to die, and you're like, oh. And then you finally die, and like some fingers come round your eyes, and you're like, is this supposed to be scary?
Yeah.
And then you're dead, and then that's it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. And that's my experience with Phasmophobia. And that was 2 different play sessions. And I witnessed someone playing this game screaming like a little girl. Absolutely screaming like a little girl.
We
And
will
they're
not name who that
we're
was.
not naming names, but they will know they will know who I'm talking about. And I cannot understand why they were screaming. Like, I can't understand why anybody would be remotely scared by this. The scariest thing about this game was how it looked when you were like turning your head and some trees would appear, and then you would turn a wee bit further and the trees would disappear, and you're like, no.
It doesn't look good, does it?
No.
I think the one thing that's instantly noticeable that will make people go, ugh, is the mirror. The mirror is everywhere. It is everywhere. Literally, you are walking around and it looks so fuzzy in places that it's just not nice to look at.
That's so weird.
And I mean, again, like, it's one of those things where I know we've played it pre-release and they could always do an update. We tried. Did you try the dynamic foveated rendering in the settings?
Yeah, and then some like random things appear above my head.
It was all glitching out, so we had to turn that off, and it's just a lot of various issues with the game. I'm someone that's played this game for about 20 to 30 hours on PC in non-VR, and with a little bit of time in VR as well on PC. Obviously on PC you can speak to the ghost yourself by holding the actual talkie box or whatever it's called, and you can like, who are you? You know, all that, ask it questions and it will kind of respond. On the PlayStation version, you can't even do that. I believe they want to add this in as an update, but when that will happen, who knows? Because why isn't it there on release? And I feel like it's one of the things that needs to be there on release. It's one of the things that really immerses you. Even when I was playing it non-VR, it would immerse you because you're talking to the ghost.
Yeah, that seems like quite an important feature.
Yeah, so it says you just have to press a button, press X to ask it who you are or where are you. And it's like, no, that's disgusting. I'd rather play that on PC.
Press cross, you mean? Press cross.
Pardon?
Press cross, you mean?
Press cross, yes. Oh, sorry, press cross.
So we're not X button VR, are we?
Oh, cross X, I don't care. Right, it's. Let's go back to the actual main point.
Yeah.
The game is fucking terrible.
That's so weird though, because isn't it like, well, you played 20 hours. How is it? How is the port so bad?
Right.
Like, how is so much lost in the conversion?
Okay, I'm gonna go on that because I don't think anything's been lost. I think there was such a huge hype around this game when it first came out in 2020, and I mean, I played this game solid with mates for about a month or so. Yeah. So there was this huge hype around the game, but that hype's now died. That hype died within the first 2 years or less. This is them gripping onto that hype now and hoping that it'll kind of be rejuvenated and people will be really excited about it. But this is the biggest problem. When you play this in non-VR on PlayStation, because I did try in non-VR first, just to accept the terms of agreements, it seems like that's what you have to do. And we'll touch on that in a second as well, because someone in our group that we were playing with nearly threw their VR off their heads in a fit of rage because they couldn't even agree to the terms. So when I played it in non-VR, the controller, it's just not a nice controller binding. It's literally whoever decided to make the controller this way, you need to do better, literally. And I hate to put it this way because I know this is such a popular game and it's one that I've loved playing on PC. And if I ever want to play it again, I will play it on PC. I would not play it on PlayStation in non-VR. The controller binding is probably some of the worst I've seen from a PC to console port. And that being said, yes, you'll get used to it, but how long will it take you, and how many missions are you going to fail by doing it? So playing it in VR is definitely the better way. And I know I feel like I'm being really harsh, but at the same point, I think I'm just a bit upset because I am someone that really enjoyed this game. Like I said, I've played this game quite a bit with people, and I'll stand by what Alex said. It's not scary anymore. This is just not scary. Like, I think when it first came out, it was creepy. And even playing in VR, we're not jumping, we're not getting scared, we're just laughing. We're just taking the mick out of things and how it's working, and that was legit the whole play session. We're just taking the piss. Oh, the ghost is after us. Oh no, what are you gonna do? Oh, I'm dead. That was literally it every single time.
Because I was literally waiting, like, going like, right, so I think it was about the 4th or 5th round before I actually got killed. And then I was like, is that it?
Yeah.
Like, I waited this long for that? Like, you kidding? And you're like,
yeah.
No.
So, again, I mean, I don't want to say this is a bad game, because I have enjoyed it on PC, and I have enjoyed it on VR on PC, and I've enjoyed it on keyboard on PC, because clearly that's how it is originally intended to be played. And I've enjoyed it there, and I will stand by that. I have got at least 30 hours of enjoyment from this game. And for the price it is, I don't know how much it's going to be on PlayStation. I haven't got that. But with how much it was on PC, £30 for the enjoyment, or whatever it was, seemed fair. But I think the hype has gone. So playing this felt like a chore. And I think after our 4 or 5 play sessions, we didn't want to play it no more. We literally just went, oh, I'm done. I'm done. I've got no interest. Like, at its core, it's an investigation game with horror elements, but they're just not scary anymore, because things have been done scarier in VR now. I'd even say Resident Evil 4 has scarier moments than this. Like, I think you would be fine with this, Laurie. I think you would laugh at this.
Yeah.
Like, you would power through this like a real man. Like, it's it's just a bit upsetting. I think people will enjoy it out there. I'm not going to say people won't enjoy it, but I also think people might get annoyed with how it looks, how it feels, because I think Alex would agree, the graphics aren't that great in general.
No.
It looks very dated. And my main argument with Phasmophobia, even on the PC VR and just VR in general, always seemed like a tacked on, let's just try it kind of thing. It was never we're going to work on this. It's always just been here's VR. Let's see how that happens. And that's it. That's all it's been in my experience. And I stand by that. And I mean, hey, one of the devs might comment and say, no, that's not how it is. We do work on it. And if that's the case, I do apologise. But from an outside perspective, that's how it looks. Because I've played the VR multiple times now, and it doesn't look like anything's changed in it. So I know they had I played it in the VR side of it in the year where they had their office fire. So I doubt they've done any major updates or things like that. But even then, I think the game kind of needs a bit of an overhaul now. It looks like an old school.
Phasmophobia 2. That's what we need.
Exactly. Yeah, or just
fair enough.
It's disappointing. It is.
All right, well, let's not dwell on bad games that you didn't enjoy. But it'd be interesting to see all their reviews and all the flat version reviews of it come out and say as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't play on controller, definitely not. Anyways, let's go on to the next games.
Well, let's tell us a bit more exciting that you've been playing. Because obviously this week has been very exciting. Lots of people have been playing Batman. So tell us, let's not go on to it, because I know Alex, you're playing it soon as well. Some will do a proper deep dive of it next week maybe. But give us your first impressions of Batman.
This is one of the greatest looking Quest games I've ever played. And I'd say it's on par with some games that are on other platforms like the PSVR2. Not like your Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's more on par with some of the ones that get ported over and then they get a little bit of an upscaling. It looks really good. It plays really well. You can tell it's pushing the Quest to its absolute limit. But even so, it still manages to have very little issues with like frame drops or anything like that. You feel absolutely king cool playing this game. Like, I don't think I've ever played a VR game where I felt so cool. Like, and I think, well, one of the episodes before, I was a bit skeptical about the fighting, and I remember Alex saying, I think it's just kind of where you got to hit, and I was like, yeah, but it just seems a bit. I take it all back. I take every single thing, any kind of worry I had about that fight, I take it all back. Yes, there is a HUD everywhere, but that is just your indicator how to fight. And I mean, if they really wanted to, they could make a mode and have it so the HUD's turned off. Maybe that's even there on the harder difficulty. I think I'm playing it through on normal. But even if it wasn't, and it just stays there, it makes you know where you've got to hit, and it just feels cool. It just feels really, really cool, and I think that's the only way I can really put it. I'm a huge Arkham fan. I've loved the Arkham games for the longest times, and yeah, I'm locked in. Like, I was playing it before I came on this, and I even said to Alex, if we wasn't recording this tonight, I'd have carried on playing it. If EGX wasn't this weekend, I'd be on it all weekend. It's locked me in. It's so good.
Nice.
I can't wait to start.
Yeah,
I think I need to save it till after EGX.
I think that's fair to do, because I think you'll be the same as me, where it's all you want to play.
Definitely the game that's like the killer app that really makes me want to get a Quest now.
Yes.
One day. Yeah. All right, well, we can talk about more Batman when Alex has played it. What else have you guys played? We had the interview with Mr. Vendetta Forever. We could talk about it now. We're no longer embargoed. What do we think about Vendetta Forever?
I like it.
Yeah, me too. I think as Reece described Batman there as cool, I think I would describe this as cool in a different way, but it's very cool. Like, it's very stylish. It maybe doesn't, it could maybe put you off right away, which is maybe something we'll come on to with you, Laurie, but I can understand why it could. But once you understand what it's doing, it becomes far more fun. Like, it's not that it's not fun, like it's just really inventive. It's so cool, and so, like, Xander had his vision, and he has created his vision. Like, it is what he wanted it to be. And I think once you realise that you can basically do anything that you want in this game in terms of how you attack it, and it's as much of a puzzle game as it is an action game. It is very much you have these stages, and 50 odd stages, whatever there are, to get through, all different difficulties. You've got all different types of things that you need to do in terms of, maybe some you need to eliminate elite, some you just need to get to the end, some you need to eliminate everyone, some is just a one-on-one duel. Like, so many different situations that it puts you in. But it just gives you the freedom to go and do it, and then it's that local motion in terms of you shoot or you throw or you do whatever you want to kill. When you do that, you then grab the next weapon, which is how you then transport to wherever that person was that you've killed, to use the weapon that you've kind of knocked out of them to then take out the next person and the next target, and then plotting your way through the stage. But it's then realising that you do have ways to go back. So it's not necessarily that you can't go forward. You can go back to where you were. You can pick up weapons that you maybe missed. You can throw the weapon that you have. Maybe you've got a gun, there's no bullets in it. You can still throw it at them, and that knocks them out. Or you can... And yeah, I just think it's really, really well done. It looks cool. The soundtrack is really cool. Like, yeah, I like it a lot.
Can I ask you, Alex, what did you play it more on?
I probably would play it more on the Quest 3, but I really like it on the PSVR2 because it looks better and feels better. And I have played it probably as much on both.
I've played it on both. Am I right? I think I'm right in saying that VR Monkey did the pull?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I remember seeing some of the stuff that Pedro said about the higher frame rate, some cool stuff with eye tracking, obviously adaptive triggers, all that kind of jazz. VR Monkey know what they're doing with the pull, so you definitely get this really fleshed out version of this game. And like you said, Xander's vision, I think, is even more fleshed out on the PSVR2. I think this is the one game I've played where I've actually said to myself, can we get this wire off me? The one game. And I'm one of them people that I do not care about a wire being attached to the headset. Even when I play PC VR, I do not play it wirelessly. I play it with a wired connected to the Quest, or if I use the PSVR2, obviously that's wired as well. So I'm not someone who's saying, it needs to be on, you need to have a wireless headset. But this is the first time I've played a game where I'm like, no, I need that wire gone. Because when I play this, I was finding myself twisting to the right, going lower to the floor. and I was so scared I was going to kneel on the cable and pull it out from the back of the headset. I was just really, and again, that's me and how I'm playing the game. This may not, other people be like, "No, I'm not going to play it like that." But again, I suppose it's like feeling cool in VR, and I think that's the one thing.
There is nothing worse than when you yank on the wire accidentally, though, and you feel like you're going to pull the thing out and it's going to be broken forever. You're like, what have I done?
It's the worst fear, isn't it? You just feel that little bit of tension. You're like, it's a good game. It's a cool game, and I think Alex is right. And I think the best way of looking at it is it has a very big learning curve. But if you want to sit there and learn that curve, then the payoff's great. Like, you're going to feel awesome playing this. And it does. When you get the motion down and the actual rhythm of the whole game, it's a lot of fun. It is. And it's different. Even though it doesn't look different to some other games that come out, and I know when Xander was on here, we were talking about like Super Hot and Pistol Whip and things like that. And I know he said that wasn't his inspiration, and I think he knows that still, even though it weren't his inspiration, a lot of people are going to draw them too. And I think it's more because of an aesthetic look than anything else. It feels so original. Like it genuinely feels original in a cloud, in a huge crowd of VR shooters and teleport style shooters. This game feels incredibly original, and I think that's one thing he should really just pat himself on the back for. Like, it's crazy that you've managed to make a game so original, and it's awesome. But no, it's definitely one to check out. I've been enjoying it.
Stand for approval then?
Absolutely, from me, yeah.
I would say for me, it's not one that I thought I would like in terms of just looking at it. I was like, this is not my sort of thing. And when I first played it, I thought that as well. But I will say, seeing the reviews and reading some reviews about it and hearing you guys talk about it, it does make me think I should try and persevere a little bit more with it. I don't know if it's ever going to be a game that is my sort of thing that I want to play, but I'm definitely curious to try it out and play it more.
I think you should. I definitely think it's worth another try, Laurie. I think once you get over that initial hurdle, I think it starts to click. Then
I feel like I need to watch some gameplay videos, so like the first few levels, to be like, okay, that's what I need to do. Because when I tried playing it, I was just got very frustrated, just not. I just kept dying over and over again. It wasn't much fun.
It's just getting into the emotion of it.
I wasn't finding it fun, but I was like, this is me. I'm not doing what the game wants me to do, and I'm not engaged enough to want to learn to get my head around it. But it's entirely me, because I'm not saying it's a terrible shit game. Because I don't think that at all. But I just think it's not my sort of thing. But maybe if Alex said it's more of a puzzle game, it does make me think, well, I do like puzzle games.
I mean, puzzle game with bullets and movement.
But it's a puzzle
game.
I've
heard that before. I've heard that from other reviewers as well, saying it's more like, how can I get from A to B?
Yeah.
What's my route here?
Yeah, what's the best way to do it? Because I've noticed the only thing that can be different when you play each level again is that the guns that the enemies can drop can be different, which is because I was like, when I died the first time, I was like, oh, he drops this type of gun. That's fine. I can use that to take out this person. Then I shot that person first and he dropped a completely different gun. I was like, oh, okay, now I've got to rethink that entire idea, or just keep repeating it until I get that gun that I wanted, that I thought I could do it with. But,
it's just that sense of like satisfaction. Though, it's like for one of the things, you're just like picking up a meat cleaver and chucking it at someone, and you just see it like go like hit the target. You're just like, that was good. But then you realise I shouldn't have thrown it at him. I should have thrown it at him, because he now just kills me and I've got nowhere to go. And I think it is all about like, and that's where the puzzle comes in. It's like, right, I'm in this situation. There's maybe 3 or 4 guys. I know who's going to, which one do I need to take out first? Which one's going to get me from where? And then how do I plot to get from A to B to C to D to E to F? And you're only talking these stages. Like, some of the stages are like 10, 15 seconds long. Some of them maybe like longest, maybe up to about a minute or something. You're not talking like a really long level or anything in this.
I mean, we saw some of the speed runs, didn't we? And they actually blew our mind.
4 seconds and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it was ridiculous. I was like, what? Yeah. And it's like, even Xander said, he's like, even he didn't realise that you can complete it that way. Like, it just completely blew him away. But while you was talking about that, I mean, I had just a thought that popped into my mind. Like, if a movie was to be a VR game, I feel like this would be the Equalizer movie. You know, them scenes where he kind of summarises how he's going to take out the whole entire room. I don't know why. This game just reminds me of that. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there if anyone likes the Equalizer.
I was going to say, you know how Quest likes every year to do its big IP that everyone knows about and use it to sell headsets. They could make a John Wick video game and just Quest could throw loads of money at the devs to just try and get them to make it into a John Wick game.
Anyone makes a John Wick game, it needs to be AMB Seth, the one who's making Gunman contracts. Get him on that. He can do it. I know he can.
Fair enough. Okay. Any final things that we want to discuss?
No, I think that's it.
One little thing, and I'm not going to say much about it, but I have played Just Dance VR, and we'll talk more about this in future episodes, but I've never felt so ridiculous in my life.
Wow.
Okay, now I want to know more.
It is, but we'll talk about that in future episodes. It is multiplayer. We need to try multiplayer before I say anything else.
What are you doing after this?
So, yeah.
Lovely. Well, I look forward to hearing about that one then. Well, until next time, though, let's leave it there. So thank you, everyone, for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you could please tell your family and your friends all about us. And if you'd like to get more involved, don't hesitate to jump into our Discord and say hello. I've been your host, Laurie. These two have been Alex and Reece, and we will see you again next time. Until then, it's goodbye.